Coming to you live from the Super International Wedding Fair, it's this week's Apocalypse. I am your co-host, Kevin Lennon. With me, as always, is John Ferris. John, how are you doing today?
Yeah, fine.
Feeling festive?
Yeah, well, yeah, feeling the love.
Yeah, feeling the love. It's, you know, it's a nice sort of fun atmosphere, but there is a big problem now. We're here selling we set up a little stall to sell our super wedding boxes. Mm-hmm. People keep asking me what they are, and I'm not really sure. I just thought it would be a good thing to sell people fancy boxes for weddings.
Definitely not a box of spiders.
That's definitely not what it is what it says on the sign. It says, that's our tagline, definitely not a box of spiders.
Yep.
Nobody's really picking it on up, and maybe we should blank that bit out. Maybe mentioning the spiders in the first place is making people think about spiders and associating us with a box full of spiders. Is that bad?
Fine, well, you change it at your peril.
Indeed. Well, yeah, I thought it was a great business idea, but whatever. It's kind of taking a back seat now, though, because it seems to me that there seem to be a lot of bodies showing up at this particular wedding fair. There seems to be a killer on the loose, bumping people off left and right. The only information we currently have is that it was some kind of bride. Someone dressed as a bride is going around and knocking people off. You might say a killer bride.
Oh.
Is that the accepted term?
Bridezilla?
A bridezilla? That feels a bit too...
That's different, I think.
That's a bit too reality TV for my tastes. And
yeah, they tend to be just
well.
women going... Meh!
That tends to be someone who's sometimes legitimately upset that something has gone wrong at this something they spent a long time organizing.
I always thought if it's legitimate, it's not a bridezilla. I thought the bridezilla thing was specifically... I could be wrong. I thought it was specifically to know the flowers are pink when they were meant to be off red.
The flowers are pink when they were meant to be a different pink.
Yes, yeah, that kind of unreasonably upset about things. But I might be wrong. I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know. But regardless of that, they don't generally go around murdering people.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of, anyway.
Maybe advertised.
Well, if they are, then they're getting away with it. This one's not really getting away with it because there's bodies everywhere. So we've gathered all the brides together, and I thought maybe we could do like a end of Poirot or whatever. Get everybody in the one room and dander around and be like, "It was you what did it," Yeah. But I've no idea how exactly to figure that out because I'm not a detective. But I have noticed that there is a certain sort of pattern in, I was going to say Hollywood cinema, but it's not specifically Hollywood, sort of cinema in general, of killer brides. So we've got 3 movies here that we can watch to help us figure out who the murderer really is.
Hollywood being a very male, centric,
misogynist, maybe for a long.
Yeah, brides are trying to kill me.
yeah. That's the problem, mate. It's them that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's right.
Getting married, that's like a death sentence. So these may not be the views of this week's Apocalypse.
Yes, we may be being sarcastic. So, first off, here we have Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillet's Ready or Not from 2019. Yeah, I know. It's Ready or Not from 2019. It's so many syllables. Then we have Vicente Aranda's The Blood Spattered Bride from 1972. And then we have, from the inimitable Quentin Tarantino, Kill Bill from 2003. All right, all Killer Bride movies. So let's sit down and have a wee look at this.
There's definitely not another movie there.
There's definitely no other movie that we watched this week. Don't want to talk about it, John. Let's just sit down and watch these 3 movies. Alrighty. Well, I want to get my investigating shoes on here, so let's start off with Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillet's Ready or Not from 2019. John, what did you think of Ready or Not?
I kind of like this movie. It's not perfect by any means, and it could be it kind of annoys me in a way because it's so close. if they just tweaked a few things or like focused kind of on the bride a bit more and her kind of the ways in which she's surviving, I think it would be a lot better. It kind of does get bogged down kind of in the middle somewhere with a lot of the kind of family drama, although some of that is kind of enjoyable as well.
Yeah, would you call that they get a little bit too into telling us their lore?
Yeah, and it's and like actually I'm going to put up spoilers for this one because they're the interesting parts of this movie kind of do come towards. Well, actually, it's just to contradict myself, in the middle third as well, whenever kind of the bride escapes, essentially.
Yeah.
But any time it's focused on her, I think it's really good, and it's she's got a lot of charisma. Samara Weaving. I've first seen her in Ash versus the Evil Dead, in which she plays a character who just has the worst luck whatsoever and is constantly screaming, and she's brilliant in that. And it kind of carries on with this. You know, it's kind of nice seeing this. You know, she's quite. They paint her as a real character. Like, she's not this naive, you know, perfect bride. She's like when you first meet her, she's kind of trying to sneak in a sneaky smoke, and she lets on to the family that she doesn't smoke and things like that. You know, and she doesn't have a family and all this. So she has kind of her reasons to, like, she's looking forward to kind of joining this family. But when things go pear-shaped, let's say, it's interesting.
I agree with you on pretty much everything you've just said. I would say I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Most of it, in fact, I thought was great. She is great. She's brilliant.
She's the best thing.
Brilliant. Yeah, they spend I think, as you're saying, I think in the middle they do take a wee bit too much time. Maybe it's nice to explore the other characters, but I feel like maybe they do spend a wee bit too much time looking at maybe her husband.
Yeah,
a bit too much.
Who isn't that interesting? But I like, again, massive spoiler because this is way near the end. One of the things I love about it is the fact that the whole way through you kind of think the husband's going to be on her side the whole time, and then they do that kind of switch at the end where like he's like, well, no, I have to he shows his true colors. He shows how cowardly and just like the rest of his family is, and I enjoyed that because then she gets to like exact her revenge on him.
Yeah, so she's great. I've seen her in a few other things as well. Now, she was in, as you said, she was in Evil Dead. That was great.
Yeah.
But she was in a film called, I wasn't that too hugely like hopeful. She was in this film called The Babysitter, which was a Netflix owned thing. There was two of them, which she was good in, actually. But I found on the whole to be an incredibly unfulfilling, kind of lazy film.
It was.
In a lot of ways. And the sequel was one of the worst, probably the worst Netflix produced thing I've ever seen.
I didn't even know there was a sequel, and
there is.
I don't think I'll touch it.
It's the same film again, but on a river.
Yeah.
And way less interesting and hugely more boring. In fact, I remember thinking of The Babysitter that it was kind of okay, and then the very end of it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was losing me for the whole film, and then the second one is Babysitter Killer Queen. Absolute diuretic crap. Completely just soulless, and it's kind of like it felt almost like a remake of it. They were trying to deliberately do that and like echo the first one, but it just felt lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally bring back all of the characters who died and do the same things with them and kill them all off again in the same ways, in a way that you're just like, why did they bother making this film? It didn't make any sense. But anyway, enough of that. She's brilliant. Her character's great. She's a very real character because she is like this person from, say, a poor background who is becoming part of this unrealistically hugely rich, privileged family in this, like, it is a caricature almost how powerful and rich they appear to be.
And I love some of the standouts are the sister
Yeah.
Of
the cokehead, that one.
Yeah, like she's brilliant. Like she's a complete fuck up. She's
rubbish.
And then the woman who married in, she's married to Adam Brody's character, Daniel. She's just this real evil bitch who's
she has lent into the evil of the family, and she has gone native, as they say, in a way that is just ridiculous. I kind of love, there's an aunt in it. I guess it's his dad's sister.
She's like really over the top, and
she's brilliant. Her and Samara Weaving were my favorite things in the film. Adam Brody was pretty good too. I liked him. I think he's a good actor. He is really good at being like the sort of like, he's the guy who's given up on life.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, but he almost is sort of, I felt like he was almost like a hero. He's not the hero. I mean, our heroine is the hero of the piece, you know. Samara Weaving is the protagonist, but he's got this thing going where you're like, you feel like he's constantly striving for a redemption arc all the time and is never quite getting his hands on it. So I really liked him, and I liked her quite a bit. And some of the gore was very good.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere and surprising, which I liked, to the point where it was funny. The gore was funny, which I liked.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see her hack up a few more of the family members. It was because I was disappointed at the end. Like, they're kind of disposed of almost very quickly, let's say, and it's done. It's like she doesn't get to exact her revenge. It's all kind of second hand.
Yeah, but, it's like they set them up in a way where you're like, they are setting these people up so that when something happens to them, we as the audience can be like, they deserve that.
Yeah,
they deserve that. Whereas the main gore happens to like the help.
Yeah,
like the servants
which
are the
I
ones.
Thought was really unfair. Apart from the butler guy, he deserved all of that.
Oh, he was a bastard. Like, he was a bastard. But all the other, like the three women that work in the house that just get annihilated.
Yeah.
It's just, I think they're trying to make a point about how they see these people as disposable.
Yeah, because it is just treated like an inconvenience. You know, the first one that gets shot, it's literally like you have Andy McDowell's character and a few others coming in going, ugh, right, flip a coin to see who gets the feet and who gets the head to lift them out and things like that. You know, it's not even like, they don't even see them as people. Just what you're saying. It's just. It's very good though. Like it has wee moments like that, and it's generally quite good. There is a few like pacing issues, but I find this movie enjoyable, and
they do a good job with the characterization, and like they make the bride herself easy to get behind.
Yeah.
As someone that you want to survive.
She's very likable. Like, I love, because even before like it all kicks off, like when they're playing the game that decides what you're doing, because we as the audience know what movie we're going to watch, and you know there's something sinister going on, and she's just kind of going, okay, why is everyone being so fucking intense here? And it's just this like, and I love the juxtaposition between her attitude and the rest of them, especially her husband, who's absolutely bricking himself that she's going to pick the hide and seek one.
Yeah, the one card in there that apparently is the bad card.
Yeah,
you know, and everybody else is like, "Oh, what did you do to play?" "Oh, we played Old Maid," you know, whatever that is, and it's like stupid like party games.
And that guy you're talking about who played Old Maid, he at one point has to go into the bathroom to look up how to use a crossbow because
he's watching a YouTube video on the toilet about how to operate his crossbow. Yeah, that was a nice wee touch.
Yeah, I like things like that because they're all like they're all fucking useless. They're all fucking privileged twats who
they're all really overprivileged twats who, except for Andy McDowell, she seems to have this history where she married into the family.
Yeah,
and maybe she wasn't. She has this whole thing where she sees our main character as like her almost. She's like, "Oh, you remind me of me."
Yeah,
in a way, and that was kind of good. And also, Andy McDowell was pretty good in this movie, which
isn't that weird?
To me to say. I know. I mean, I don't want to rag on her, like, but she's historically a poor actress. And I feel bad saying that, but it's just like, I love Groundhog Day, but she's horrible in it.
Yeah.
She's really hard to watch in it, and I don't know. There was something in this film. I was genuinely shocked when she started talking, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good."
Yeah.
And after a while, I forgot it was Andy McDowell, which was great.
Best case scenario.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And like, so I don't know if it's like thanks to the direction or the dialogue or what it is, but like everybody's really good in this. All the the actors are everyone's really good. There's no like poor performances. Even like the kids are grand.
Yeah, the kids are grand.
They're not badly written, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot to say, really. There's just one kid who has some lines. Yeah. And that's about it.
And I particularly like the interaction between our bride and the kid in the stable. That's quite a memorable part.
That bit was fun because it was just like the shock on her face and the sort of the brutality of the injury in that scene. They don't really shy away from that. No. She has a real bad time after that. There's a part where she's climbing up a ladder that I genuinely was getting really bad sympathy pains. Yeah, as I was watching her try to climb a ladder.
Even there's a bit where she's like squeezing through the fence, and part of the fence is like cutting her back. Yeah, and it's very graphic, and it's very well done. But yeah, I think that's the main thing for this, is that they've written this character very well, and Samara Weaving has done a fantastic job, and she carries it, and you really do. Just what you're saying, you feel those sympathy pains, and you're like, oh no, and you're really rooting for her from the start. Especially, it's not hard because they've set it up with it's these rich fucking assholes who are hunting this poor girl.
Yeah, they're easy to dislike, and she is also very easy to like. Yeah. She's really, really sympathetic. It reminded me a lot of, because I don't want to call this a home invasion movie, but it's kind of in that mold. Yeah. But it's doing something interesting with that, whereas
Home Alone, your favorite?
Hi. yeah. I am, ever since Home Alone, I've kind of been sick of home invasion movies in a way. Which is wild to say, because there was like basically what happened was Funny Games came out and it was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And there's another film called Them, a French film. Yes. Home invasion movie that is also brilliant. And kind of every other home invasion movie ever has just been a crappy rehash of those two films. Everyone's always wearing a clown mask or a pig mask, and it's just like, it's tedious. But in recent years, this, and there's another film called You're Next, which I thoroughly enjoyed, because I started watching it like, oh, here's another home invasion movie, but it does something really interesting and flips it on its head in a way that's great. Yeah. And this movie does a similar thing, where it takes the home invasion concept and actually makes it interesting, and in a way it's kind of a comedy, because it is funny. It's witty, and everyone's delivering their dialogue with really good comic timing. Yeah. It's got a very light-hearted feel to it. Yeah, which is wild for a movie about someone being hunted. Yeah, but it really works well, I think.
And it's got that balance as well, where the lightheartedness doesn't detract from when things do get intense. And I think that's the important thing. A lot of times the movie, if it doesn't have a balance like that, then you lose all tension. But it manages to do it, and I think, despite its flaws, I think this movie's very good. And I mean, this is the second time I've watched it, and I'll probably watch it again sometime. Okay, well, it was my first time, and I have to say, I had a thoroughly good time.
All right, well, these people are starting to look really shifty. People are getting annoyed that we've had them corralled into this room and won't let them leave until we decide which one of them is the guilty party. A few of them have blood all over them, but I don't know. I think maybe they were just helping to move the bodies. Likely story. I've narrowed them down to a single group, and I've made them stand on the right-hand side of the room, and everyone else is sort of looking at them with suspicion, but they're mostly looking at us with sort of like a what the fuck kind of look on their face. So let's move on then and see what we learned about defining the guilt of a killer bride from the softcore porn movie, essentially, that was The Blood-Spattered Bride. John, what did you think of The Blood-Spattered Bride? I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it
up to a point. It was kind of one of those like ridiculously bad, kind of funny, illogical. Like there's a whole thing at the start where there's a guy attacks the soon-to-be blood spattered bride out of a cupboard, and then it just like kind of cuts to them going somewhere else, and you're going,
yeah,
what the fuck's going on?
I assumed
was
that was a premonition that she had, but they never really established that. It took me a few minutes to adjust and change mental gears.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. Is like it's not explained or it's not shot in this in a way that gets that information across well enough. So you do have that, like, you have that weird mental shift that you have to do for like a couple of minutes. You're going, what's going on? Was that someone else? And
you're like, did she just get attacked and have her dress all ripped up? Because he comes back in and she's like got like the dress gathered around herself. Yeah. And she's basically crying as if she's just been assaulted. But then her dress was fine because like the guy in the dream rips her dress open. And to be honest, I think it was, I mean, it looked to me like it was the actor who was playing the husband. Yeah. That was the guy who came out of the car. He had like a stocking over his face, but I thought it was him.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just, to save money it was him, or was it meant to be him? Like,
or was that on purpose?
I don't know. But like, so I was kind of enjoying this movie. I was kind of laughing at it, not with it, at it. And then at a certain point, it gets really kind of problematic. Yeah. Particularly the husband character. Yeah. And then it continues to get, like, it continues along that vein. And then it gets even worse because it's kind of, at some point you realize he's meant to be the hero almost.
Yeah, I got the impression that they were trying to present him in that way, but he seemed more to me like he was the villain. Yeah. It seemed to me like he was this horrible, abusive, violent man who...
Like, he becomes such a man-child when she, like, first decide... Like, they're having sex a lot, they're just married, and then at some point she's like, no, I don't want to. One day, and he gets on like a man-child. He gets so ridiculous.
Yeah, she's basically... It seems like he's just... like getting more and more rough with her, in a way that she's not comfortable with, and he like even when she tries to tell him, he's not responsive, and then he gets all pissy with her.
Yeah, like that. At one point, he literally, like, she's kind of dandering about the fields and stuff, and kind of having a look, and he sneaks up a rock and like grabs her by the hair and starts pulling her up the rock.
Yeah, I was literally shouting, what the fuck, when that was happening, because I was just like, that motherfucker should be like, I mean, that's like, call the cops, like. Yeah. Call the goddamn cops, but like the only person who comes in from the outside in this movie is this weird doctor or private investigator or something that also seems to be his mate.
Dr. Cop Lawyer.
Like, yeah, whoever the hell, Dr. Cop Lawyer, exactly. Yeah, who seems to like, well, I assume he's a doctor because he has a bag full of drugs and needles that he's...
I know plenty of people with bags full of drugs. Let me tell you, they're not doctors.
No, they are not qualified at all. This guy comports himself as if he is, and the other people who live in the house seem to think of him in that way. But he doesn't fucking act like a doctor. No. He acts like a weird stalker. Yeah. Like, he's literally hanging out in the bushes outside the house with a pair of binoculars, watching the both of them. Yeah. And it's wild, and we just have to talk about, yes, the turning point in this movie for me, where I was watching it and being like, I don't know about this, and then there was a point where I was like, oh, I might be fully back on board with this, because this is wild, where he discovers a woman buried in the sand in a snorkel in the beach. Like, it's just like her hand sticking out and the tube from a scuba mask. Yep. And then he digs her up and she's just this naked woman who's hiding in the sand on the beach. And they never, like, she has a weird excuse that doesn't make any sense for why she's there. Yep. But everybody accepts it like it's true. And it's just wild. And I was just like, oh, this might be brilliant because this just happened. And that's complete nonsense. But then it just sort of spirals into, like, people, I can't tell if the filmmaker, because looking at his later films, he's made films about like LGBTQ issues and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's sympathetically, it seems. So I can't tell. It's hard for me to tell the intentions of the filmmaker in this film, because it feels, the way they, as you were saying, it presents the husband character as if he is the hero.
Yeah.
But he's horrible towards his wife.
And it kind of seems, it almost kind of...
Angry at lesbians at some point, it seems.
It kind of almost makes out that the reason she's not having sex with him is because she's a lesbian. And that's kind of like... No, it might be because he's horrendous.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the first place your head goes. Like, oh, if this woman doesn't want to have sex with me, it means she must be a lesbian.
Fucking lesbian. Like, it just reminds you of that, like... dumb misogynistic caricature of fucking lesbian. As soon as like a woman,
as someone rejects them,
like rejects her, it's like, it must be fucking lesbian then. And it's not, because it kind of justify this ridiculous man's fucking behavior.
Yeah,
which
like maybe they just didn't do a good enough job of showing us that he was supposed to be the villain.
Yeah,
because they do paint her quite sympathetically. They do paint the bride, Susan, as being quite sympathetic as well. I know it does follow her around. She is clearly frightened of him at times, and they do that. I just feel like they don't do quite enough with that. The fact that we were unsure, I think, is a problem. But he is horrible. Now, this is based on what a lot of people consider to be the first novel about a vampire, Carmilla, which I heard about a while ago and I've been meaning to go read it for ages and never have. I actually stumbled across it when we were doing our Dracula episode, our vampire episode way back when, and I was like, I might read that someday, and this was based on it. Now, I don't know how close this is to the source material, but
I suppose that's the other thing. Like, it might not be the director so much to blame. Like, it could just be that he was trying to follow that closely. But
maybe it's in the book. I don't know. I would need to read it beforehand, and I didn't have time to sit down and read the book this week, so I didn't do that. So I don't know. But yeah, it just seems like him and his weird doctor, inspector, cop, PI mate are just like, he just goes off on one about lesbians and psychology and all this stuff, and it's like, she's being manipulated and all this stuff. It's like, good lord, man. Like, they really go deep on that in a way that's just ludicrous. And then there's like characters in it, I don't know why. There's a child in this movie who I don't understand why she's even there.
I love the scene way near the end where the I'm just going to call her the Sand Woman, or Mercala or something like that.
They call her Mercala, which is the worst. It's kind of up there with like in the Book of Dracula when he changes his name, he goes in disguise by calling himself Alucard, which is just his name backwards. This is even worse than that because he just switches two letters around.
Yep.
She goes from being Carmilla to Mircalla. She just switches the C and the M, and like they have this bit where it's like, oh my god, where they suddenly realize, and you're like, well, yeah, like you were literally talking about this woman earlier. And she's dressed the same as she is in the painting. Yeah. And it says the name on it. And this woman, like, he finds her on the beach and he should immediately make that connection and doesn't.
There's a bit with the young girl, though, where she's in school. And it's this big, like, long setup just to, like, show you that Carmilla is her teacher. And it's like, okay.
What does that mean?
It was like, she gives her a key and nothing happens with the key after this. I was like, what's that key for? And initially I thought it was like
the key was the key, I think, for the desk where he hid the knife.
Yeah, but then Susan just busts that open.
But then she just takes a screwdriver to it. Yeah, so I am equally as baffled.
I don't know what was happening.
I don't know what the key was for. Yeah, they didn't establish. Maybe the key was for the weird mausoleum where she puts her coffin, but they never show you her opening that or using the key or that place other than the scene where the coffin's in it. I just assumed her coffin was always there.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe that's what it was supposed to be.
It's kind of hilarious that like the vampirism, the vampire nature of the characters like is not explored at all. It's just like, yeah, fuck it. Like they bite a neck and then there's coffins all of a sudden. It's like you're just kind of left there going, okay, I'm assuming she's a vampire or she's really into cosplay or something.
Now, as far as I know, the reason why it's disputed as to whether or not Carmilla is the first novel about a vampire is that they don't use the word vampire in the novel. So that might be why they don't address it in the movie, because in the novel they don't say it. Even though to you and I, watching it now, we say, oh, well, she's obviously a vampire.
Yeah.
I think maybe the meaning or usage of the word was not as pervasive back when the novel was written, so it's just not in there. But she's definitely a vampire. There is no doubt in my mind that this woman is a vampire, because she's like hundreds of years old as well. And how did she get a job in that school as a teacher? Was she always that kid's teacher?
I don't know. It just made more. It just created more questions than it answered, and also like it put the stinger music after she lifted her glasses in case no one recognized her, in case people were suffering from the Superman Clark Kent syndrome.
That's exactly what I said. That is the reference I made as soon as she took her glasses off. Was like, what do they think, we're dumb? Do they think we're like the people from Superman comics who don't recognize Superman when he, like Clark Kent as Superman when he takes his glasses off? What's going on? That was so daft. But yeah, I couldn't get over the scene on the beach. It was so ridiculous.
I really wanted to like this movie.
Up. Yeah.
And kind of what you were saying, there was like the points where, you were on board, and then kind of these kind of problematic things would rear their head, and then you're like, I'm not so sure. I don't know if I want to watch this, and then it would kind of go back, and you would go, okay, I might be on board. I kept feeling like that, like it was a bit of a roller coaster in a certain way in that sense. But
it kept knocking me off every time they did a bit where they had something happen, and then it turned out it was just a dream or a vision.
Yeah,
those were the bits that knocked me off. Like there's a point where she just totally murders the husband with a big knife. And it was great.
Yeah.
It was crazy violent, stab, 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 and it was wild, and it was like brilliant. And like the gore in that scene was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially for like 1972. It was like, that looks pretty good. And then it was like, no, that didn't happen. And I was like, aw. Because I was waiting for him to get killed because he was so awful.
Yeah.
And, it was just, but, it's kind of got that thing where you want to like talk about the performances, but it has that Suspiria thing where everybody's dubbed.
Yeah.
Everybody is dubbed over. It's that giallo horror sort of thing where it's like they made this in probably Italy or maybe France. I think it was Italy. I'm not sure. And probably the whole thing is probably in Italian, but the version I saw of it was all in English.
Yeah.
But all the text was still in like, obviously they're not going to change the text in the background. That would require crazy computers. But it was like, I don't know if I assume there's a native language version of this maybe available somewhere, but it wasn't available to me.
So. Yeah.
It wasn't available to me on this part of the world. I couldn't find that. But I think I enjoyed it when it was... I'm kind of in a 50-50 as well, where it's like there was some parts of it where it was like, yes, like the parts where it seemed like it was going somewhere. I was
which
totally
are
on
few
board.
and far between.
Yeah, and then it would just sort of peter out and be like, they're just wandering around in the woods now, and this guy's just creeping in the bushes. What is happening? What? And then it just sort of ends.
It really does.
Yeah, and it's like, like the end of it, they're like, they will never die, and you're like, yeah, but what? What's the point then? What's the point in everything that just happened in the last 10 minutes? And like the kid, I don't understand what the thing with the kid was. Like the kid just seemed to exist to hand things to people. Hand this person a knife, hand this person a key, and then be slapped in the face at one point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
What the fuck? Yeah. So the whole thing, I don't even know whose kid. Was she the housekeeper's kid? Was she his relative? I don't know. She just sort of lived in the house.
Yeah, it seemed like she was the housekeeper's kid, but I mean, so little of this movie is explained. There's things just happen.
But it was quite colourful, I'll give it that. It was like, there was some points where it's like, maybe like the cinematography's really good, but it was kind of like, not really, no. You know, it didn't feel very... It wasn't very visually striking, except whenever there was, like, cool gore.
Yeah.
That stuff was actually all right, but there wasn't enough of it to really, like, carry me through, I don't think. Okay, well, the bodies are piling up somehow in this sealed room. We've now got a pile of corpses in the middle of the room, and now everyone's covered in blood, so I don't know who's who. So we really got to define this before we go here. And speaking of people covered in blood, John, we watched Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill from 2003. So, John, what do you think? Indeed, what did you think of Kill Bill?
Murder William, as I like to call it.
Murder William.
I'm not a massive fan of Kill Bill. As much as that's one of his like unpopular opinion kind of yokes. It's fine for me. It's just fine. I think a lot of it. I think it could be a lot shorter. It dwells on a lot of things. Some of the issues I have with this. People who really love Kill Bill will say, "Oh, that's intentional. That's intentional. It's meant to be like that. It's meant to because it's a homage to, you know, Grindhouse and also like kind of like Bruce Lee films and stuff like that."
Yeah, there's a lot of like, I'd say it's a split between like martial arts films. It's sort of a general sort of martial arts films of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
I would say with a big lump of Akira Kurosawa shoved in as well.
Yeah.
But it's mostly that sort of like Hong Kong cinema. And also there's a fair whack of Japanese in there. It's a weird split.
Yeah.
Because they're different types of films.
Yeah.
In a way, but it's sort of a mashing together.
It's certainly eclectic, and visually it is really stunning. At times, it just. Narratively, it just doesn't grab it. I have this issue anyway, which again is probably a unpopular opinion, where I don't really like Quentin Tarantino's. I like him as a director, not as a writer, where a lot of his dialogue just doesn't feel natural to me, and it always feels like, you know, like an adolescence idea of what's cool or something. It's always like everyone's always really intense about what they're saying, or like they have to repeat kind of lines like, you know, you want to know how I got this sword? I'll tell you how I got this sword. So that I'm going to tell you the story of how I got this sword. And like they keep doing things like that. It's like, just fucking tell me. Fuck off. And I don't know. It just seems like it seems like a lot of his characters would be insufferable to talk to. So I kind of never am fully behind them.
I feel like I think that's just maybe that's what Quentin Tarantino's like.
Well, yeah.
Haven't seen him in interviews and stuff.
He kind of seems a bit insufferable.
Yeah, the way you're describing that what you don't like about the dialogue, if I had missed the start of that, I would think you were just talking about what you don't like about Quentin Tarantino, the person. Because he does kind of come off like that.
Yeah.
I think he writes the way he talks and thinks.
Yeah.
He writes other characters like that. And sometimes you can filter that through a great actor and it works. Because I have loved his films in the past. I mean, and I will say this, I really like this film a lot.
Yeah. But
it sort of lives and dies on... I mean, it can be enjoyed without prior knowledge of the things that have influenced it.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely.
But
probably more so, I would say, even because, like, I mean, I'd like a lot of martial arts movies, and I'd like some Grindhouse stuff, but, like, you know... Maybe if you didn't have any knowledge of them, this would wow you even more, because it's completely like nothing you've seen before. You know. Yeah. I don't know if that. I don't know if it would help or hinder. You know, would you appreciate the homage more, or would you?
Yeah, it's hard to say, because I like the homage bits.
Yeah.
At times, it's not even that. It's the bits I like are the parts where he emulates the. I don't want to say bad filmmaking, but maybe like the things they don't do in films now because they're better at editing.
Yeah.
But he is doing it intentionally in this way that I find actually... this time around, I was just like, it is kind of fun. like the parts where there'll be like background music in a scene, and then when the shot changes, the background music will just stop.
Yeah.
It will just cut because it's not on that piece of film. It used to be basically that way. It was more effort to go and like try and like piece all these different reels together and keep the music going over from one reel to another. So they would just, whenever there was a cut to a different shot in the same scene, the music would just stop in those films.
Yeah.
And it does that every now and then in this movie in a way that every time it happened, it did get a wee smile out of me because I was like, ha, I've seen that happen in a bunch of films and that's fun.
Yeah.
I like the there's a lot of very good choreography in this film, and there's some bad. For
the most part, but I did find. I mean, I can see that they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with a lot of this stuff, where he wants like the close-ups of Uma Thurman fighting, and she's not a stunt woman. You know, she is an actress, and that therefore to make it work, it's heavily edited, and again could also be that whole homage thing, you know, but to me that it's the fights are sometimes over edited, especially in the first one, if I remember right, because we should mention actually that we watched both the volume 1 and 2.
Yeah, we took this as one big old film.
We probably should have watched the whole bloody affair, which is like the release with all of them and probably extra scenes and stuff, but no, we're old school. I didn't even know that existed.
We saw the credit sequence twice, so yay. Yeah, but no, I do still really like it. I think that like I like the snap zooms, and I like how the film grain changes sometimes when they have a flashback, because it's changing. Again, this is like, you know, live and die by how much you appreciate the homages or are willing to accept that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, like the film grain will literally change to look like a different film.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a part where she's going to train with Pai Mei in volume 2, and the film grain completely changes then.
Yeah, I really like that sequence,
from
actually.
Like
I like that whole part. I actually, I found in the first movie that, again, just another personal thing, I don't think it gained anything from having the non-chronological story, you know, for jumping like back and forth. I don't actually, I mean, again, you could argue the exact opposite. But I just don't think the characters gained anything or anything like that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a trick that Quentin Tarantino likes to do, and does it in, I think, every one of his films. He does that.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, you can say that like, oh, it's the director's signature, and he's like, you know, he likes to do that, and that's his thing, that's the way he likes to make his movies.
Yeah.
But becomes a maybe a problem when you go in and you're like, oh, is it going to do that again? And then it does.
Because I think it worked better in the second one, because I like the, you know, you kind of had her trying to take care of, what do you call him again? Bill's brother, and I'm forgetting the actor's name. But even Michael Madsen, sorry.
It's Bud. Bud is the character's name. Yes.
You know, and she goes to take care of him, things go wrong, blah blah blah, and then the flashback has a certain meaning for that and all. And,
yes,
and
it's important.
It's very important, and it's very important for the end as well. You know, it all kind of comes full. Actually, that whole encounter with Pai Mei kind of feeds a lot of, you know, Daryl Hannah's character, Ellie Driver.
Yeah,
it plays into their interaction as well. So no, I do like that now.
It's his choppy storytelling style great. Sometimes it works. I liked how it worked in Pulp Fiction, because that feels like an anthology movie. It feels like 3 separate stories.
For me, Pulp Fiction is definitely his best movie. You know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time. Actually, I should watch it again, because, like, you know, with Kill Bill, I actually found parts of it dragged on for me a bit too much. Where, you know, I remember it being this very like fast paced, you know, kind of non-stop movie. It's like, wow, this is actually a lot slower and a lot more laborious to get through than I thought.
Wow. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I mean, again, you're looking at something that's, if you take this as one big movie, is like in excess of 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's like 3.5 hours total or something, I think. I'm not sure. No, the second movie's over 2 hours long anyway, the volume 2. But yeah, I kind of... The pacing sort of changes as it goes along, and it's why I think it works better as one film than it does as two, because I remember thinking that the second one felt very different when I saw them separately originally.
Yeah.
But when I watched them back to back as one thing, I think it felt like it worked a lot better. It does kind of... There are points where it does drag, and there are points where they're going over stuff, and like people talk at points where you're like, conversation doesn't need to go on. Like there's a point where they have a flashback. I guess they're trying to show you like the relationship between the bride and Bill.
Yeah.
Where it's the whole thing where it gives you like what happened in the wedding chapel.
Yes, yeah.
That bit goes on forever. And it's most of it is like the first half of that is like them just sort of, they're showing all these characters who don't matter.
Yeah. And a lot of repetition throughout both movies, even taken as even if you just watched Kill Bill Volume 1, there's a lot of repetition in it, and Kill Bill Volume 2 is the same, which it could be again to feed into this whole homage thing and or whatever, but I don't know, for me it was just kind of like, yeah, get to the point. Wait, I know what's happening here. Just kill a load of people with a sword, please. Yeah. Now,
there's points where it takes its time that I really like, but they're usually like, there's one particular moment where it's she's facing off against Lucy Liu's character.
Yeah.
And it's after the big ridiculous fighting all the bodyguards and that, and it's them having a one-on-one fight. And I love that scene so much, because it starts off and it's a bit clarty, and then they have this moment where the tone completely shifts.
Yeah.
And they have this moment where they're like staring each other, and then the music kicks in, and it's just like, it reminded me kind of a Kurosawa movie where you get like the samurai duel, where you'll see each person standing and looking, and it'll go from one and then the other, and then you'll get the wide shot of them both standing and facing each other, and the build and the build and the build and the build and the build, and then just explosive movement, and then someone's dead. And you're like, whoa. And then you're like, okay, someone just got it. Wow. And that fight, I really like. All the parts where they do that, I think are really good. When it's one-on-one revenge, those are the bits of this movie where I think it really shines. When she gets her revenge on Elle, in fact, is just so brutal. And it's a point where you could think, oh, this is going on a bit too long. After the revenge has been dealt, there's a lot of screaming and wailing and bleeding, but I really liked
that's fun to see from that character who was kind of horrible.
Like that was hugely enjoyable. You're like, yep, just linger on this. But again, it's Tarantino's problem is sometimes he lingers on things and you're like, I don't want to look at this anymore or hear this conversation. And like, as you say, generally,
and it's that self-important dialogue that, like, I think that's what it drags it on with these conversations. Maybe that, like, just what we're kind of saying, where it kind of writes the way he talks, and
he does.
It is this like self-important, like what I'm saying. Like, there's a bit where it's actually when she confronts Bill himself, and he's trying to like sound all kind of philosophical, and I can't remember what he says. But I just remember like going, oh, for fuck's sake, like you sound like a 12-year-old. What you're saying isn't deep. Fucking read a book, you twat. Like it just was so annoying to come from like, they've been bigging up Bill to be this like, real mysterious, like fucking almost otherworldly, impossible to defeat kind of dude. So you think what he's gonna say is really important, and it's not. You're just like,
oh, it's just like, I'm going to talk about comic books.
Yeah, it's like, say Superman, his
Thanks,
real
David.
Yeah, because it's stuff. It's something along those lines as well. Yeah, because he's got that whole Clark Kent is actually his disguise. Ooh,
yeah,
yeah. What about Aquaman? What about there's loads of ones like that.
As if he's so unique, and he's like, he definitely isn't. And also, you spent I don't know, like 8.5 minutes explaining a metaphor that could be summed up in 15 seconds, and you talked and talked. That's the problem with a lot of the times when Tarantino is trying to be philosophical, he will basically just have someone make the point 5 times in 5 slightly different ways.
Yeah.
You know, using basically as he's sort of saying the same thing over and over again in different ways. And you're like, yeah, I got it the first time, mate. So just nip it in the bud. But I actually still do like this film quite a bit.
Yeah, it is enjoyable. Like, I mean, it's testament that we kind of went in only to watch the first one, and I watched the second one anyway. So I was obviously getting something out of it, you know.
Yeah, we had intended to just address Kill Bill Volume 1, and then we both watched Kill Bill.
Then we'll realise, fuck, she doesn't
2.
kill Bill. Oh, we'll have to watch it to the end.
Yeah, otherwise, what's the point? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I finished it and was like, I do really want to watch the second part now, and I did, and I still really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. There's another thing I should bring up where, you know, Uma Thurman, I think, plays the role really well.
Yeah.
But physically, there's times where I wish they just went with the with her stunt actress. Like there's the silhouette thing with Pai Mei, and you know, it's a lot different to act physically than it is with dialogue and things like that. You know, with these things, you know, that are very stunt coordinated and stuff like that. And she's kind of too. I don't want to be mean here. She's kind of too gangly or something. It doesn't look like she would have the power or the technique to do what she does in this movie at times. But again, that's a real minor thing. But it just kind of I found it very noticeable when they're doing like the silhouette thing in Pai Mei's kind of chapter or whatever you want to call it.
Which, as you're saying, is maybe the highlight of the film.
I think it is, of both.
He might be the best character.
Yeah, the way he keeps swishing his beard after he says something.
Love him so much. Him and Sonny Chiba's character actually is brilliant as well. Hattori Hanzo.
Oh yes,
I love him. I want to go and drink in his little bar, his little sushi bar that he runs with his mate. That seems cool. Like the interplay between them, and I think again that's another point where it's like, would you get more out of it with the homages? Because he has played the character of Hattori Hanzo in a bunch of films before this.
Yeah.
So it is like a callback. So it's kind of that thing where when she goes in there and you know who Hattori Hanzo is, if you know, you're like, ooh, yeah, it's Hattori Hanzo. Where's this going to go? It's fun in that way. And I think they do enough to sort of justify it, even if you don't know that.
Yeah.
But I like him, and it was nice. And also he did die recently. About a month ago, I think, actually, just over a month ago, which is kind of, so it was kind of sad the same. It was a little poignant, because I was sitting there laughing, and then I remembered, and I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. But brilliant actor, has been in some of my favorite martial arts movies, in fact. So he's great, and I really like the bit with him. I like the bit with Pai Mei, and I don't know, sometimes there's tonal shifts that feel a bit weird though, like there's the part where it goes all animated, which is a great animation scene.
It seems kind of superfluous, though.
When they're doing Lucy Liu's character's backstory, it feels a bit like they wanted to make an anime thing. You know, he didn't have enough Asian cinema influence in there. He wanted to shove in also some like 90s anime. Yeah. You know, 80s, like late 80s and maybe early 90s anime.
Because even that, like, I think for me, I would prefer like a tighter experience, because even that was kind of dragged out, the explanation of her origins and things like that. And as interesting as it is, and like as important to like kind of put her character on that pedestal of she's a fucking badass, you know, this isn't just a case of running in and stabbing a bitch, so to speak.
Indeed. Yeah, this again, Tarantino could often benefit from an editor with his stuff. Again, I don't feel, you know, he is open to criticism. He has made some good films, and he is an incredibly talented filmmaker. Yeah. But just sometimes, like, a lot of these criticisms, we could level all these almost exact same criticisms against a bunch of his other films. Like I think The Hateful Eight has a lot of dialogue in places where it doesn't need it, and yada yada yada. And I think it's the reason why a lot of people maybe didn't take to it so well.
Yeah.
Because it basically tells the same story 3 times. And every time there's more dialogue than there was in the last time, where people talking to each other, and you're like, where is this going? And it kind of goes on and on and on in a roundabout way. But actually, weirdly, that is a film that I really, really, really liked.
Yeah.
Maybe better than a lot of his more recent movies.
Ooh.
I actually genuinely liked The Hateful Eight quite a bit. Mainly due to the performances of the people in it. Like Kurt Russell is brilliant in it, and Samuel L. Jackson, the ever reliable Samuel L. Jackson. You know, you can put him in anything.
Cameo in Kill Bill as the piano player.
Just a wee bit. A piano player named Rufus, who used to play with Rufus Thomas, which was just baffling to me. That choice was strange.
Yeah.
Like, let's give him the same first name as Rufus Thomas. Sure, why not? It was bizarre. Because, like, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson has been in some bad movies, some of which we've talked about recently. In fact, he's been in a huge number of bad movies. But he's always
just been
grand.
in a huge number of movies, I think, is the problem. So it's
law of averages. It's like Robert De Niro. You know, De Niro's been in a bunch of terrible films, but you remember the good ones. And, you know, De Niro's always reliable and good in things.
Oh, yeah.
Much like Samuel L. Jackson is always good in things. He doesn't get given the best dialogue. No. Sometimes he gets given dialogue that, you know, people wrote because he's Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of a shame. Like Snakes on a Plane is just one of the... No, I'm not even going to talk.
No,
I'm not even going to say anything else about it. I've said the name of it. That's too much. Trash. But there is, as you say, there is like maybe a 2.5 to 3 hour cut that is both of these films.
Yeah.
In a truncated kind of way that where the pacing is tighter, everything will work better. You know, there's so much dialogue that just goes over and over the same ground. So much dialogue
and there's so many kind of long scenes where it seems to want to play the whole of a certain song, and then it'll cut to another scene and play another song almost to its entirety, and you're like going, Jesus Christ, this could be a wee bit tighter, guys. She's just getting to the restaurant here.
Would you say it was somewhat overindulgent?
Maybe
self-indulgent. Yeah,
it is. I think that's probably the best way to put it. You know. I mean, I do. Again, I think Tarantino at his best for me is Pulp Fiction, and that still has, you know, overindulgent moments. But I think it's a lot tighter, and it's a lot better experience for me anyway. But again, I did enjoy it still, and I would say this is probably the best directed movie out of the 3 that we're talking about too.
Almost certainly, yes. It is artful and thoughtful and considered constantly. It is like you can feel it. The cinematography is very, very good in it.
Yeah.
And whenever it's not good, you can see that that's intentional. That they've shot something in a weird way because that's how they shot like a Hong Kong action flick back in the day. Whether that's to the movie's detriment or not, or whether you like that or not, again, that's whether or not that's your cup of tea. It is my cup of tea, but I could absolutely see someone taking that the opposite way. All right, well, we're all coated in blood now. Thank you, Kill Bill. That didn't solve any problems. So everybody's just sort of head to toe red.
Who would have thought the human body would contain so much blood?
Quentin Tarantino, that's who. Man, that guy. Yeah, so we're all just I can't even tell who's who anymore. There's so much blood. I'm a bit worried then that, you know, that we're never going to figure this out, and also we may soon be victims. But hey, you know, even though we are in fear for our lives, you know, from these murderous brides, John, which one of these did you think was the best movie?
Ooh. Well, for me, I enjoy Ready or Not the most, probably out of them. I mean, as I said earlier, Kill Bill, I know the direction is a lot better. The cinematography is better. I do actually have it because I have issues with some of the directing in Ready or Not. There's too much like shaky cam nonsense, and it's kind of annoying. Where I kind of wish. I think there's actually a better movie that could have been made out of Ready or Not, which kind of annoys me. Where they could have done a bit more with it, story wise as well. Kill Bill, I kind of enjoy it all right, but it's one that I probably can't. I can't really see myself going back to it, at least for a few years. And when I go, I wonder, did I like Kill Bill or not? Because that's kind of what happened with this. Is like going, I can't remember if I liked Kill Bill or not. And then,
well, now you don't need to do that because we've literally recorded your thoughts on it.
Yeah, but like 4 or 5 years from now, I'll be like, I won't trust myself. I'll be like, going, what does that guy know?
Yeah, he's me from like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. That guy was an asshole.
Yeah. Oh, how naive and youthful.
Yeah, that was before I'd flown in a jetpack. Yeah. Which we now all have in 4 to 5 years' time, I assume.
Exactly, yeah. That's going to change your mind and Kill Bill.
That's going to completely change your perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think the blood spattered bride gets a look in here.
No. I mean, you see, if you look it up, you'll see it being sort of reviewed positively.
Yeah.
But
it's weird.
But there's not a lot, to be honest. You look at the reviews, it's kind of like when we looked at the Grave Dancers in a way, but not nearly on that level of shite.
Yeah.
Where when if you look at, like, it's just if you're going by aggregate review sites, it's a lot of it's like horror websites who are maybe they don't have the most content, and then they have to go and look back and like review older films.
Yeah.
And again, my opinion on horror focused reviewers and websites. They tend to be overly effusive about things that you might think of as being just objectively poor.
Yeah.
Because you can say, reviewers, it's a reviewer's opinion, whatever, but sometimes you read the reviews and they're just plain wrong. You just look at a review and they say, that's not in there even. You've invented something in your head while watching this film, and now you're trying to find a positive spin on it. You'd notice that with a lot of horror reviews. No. I don't know if they're doing it consciously or if it's just like they're inventing things and then writing it down in their head.
I did find something. I can't remember what it was, but it was basically saying like the blood spattered bride was like a very pro lesbian movie and all this, which I can't really see in it because there's still kind of the bride and the vampire lady who are lesbians in the movie are kind of shown to be the almost villainous type, like, cause I mean the husband kills them in the end, well, maybe he certainly attacks them. See, and he's kind of almost shown to be right in doing this,
Yeah, almost. See, that's the thing, is that I feel like you could make an argument for the intention of the filmmaker being that.
Yeah.
And showing that.
Or maybe this is like a sad ending kind of thing.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not actually clear enough.
Yeah.
Of that, because, I don't know, I mean, he is horrible and I hate him. And I feel like it just feels like there were several points where it's like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to hate him.
Yeah.
And maybe if that is the filmmaker's intention, I think they kind of flubbed it.
Yeah.
Because I did feel like they were being painted as villainous, and this weird woman that is a teacher that maybe lives in the woods but also has a job at the school and all that stuff is nonsense. And sometimes
buries herself on the beach.
Sometimes buries herself on the beach in a scuba mask and a snorkel and otherwise naked, which just.
I mean, that whole cliche just annoyed me.
The cliched. That's what lesbians are like, John. They bury themselves on beaches all the time.
That's how you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah, how baffling. What a baffling film.
Before you get married to a woman, bring her to the beach and just see
if she instinctively starts to bury herself in the sand.
Oh God.
My. Yeah, so I think we're both not really counting the blood spattered bride then, because it's so just confusing and strange, and I feel like if it's trying to make a point, it isn't making it very well.
Yeah.
But again, you could make an argument for either way, which maybe is a problem. Mm-hmm. If you can make an argument for it either way, this film could be a misogynist propagandist piece.
it's a problem then if that the intention is to be ambiguous, then he has succeeded admirably because we haven't a clue what to think of this.
Yeah, no. So yeah, it's not getting a look in for me either. I don't think so. What are you gonna? What do you think then for Ready or Not or Kill Bill? What's your?
For me, it's going to be Ready or Not. Mainly for because just thinking about this there, for the protagonist. Because as much as Uma Thurman does a good job and the Beatrix Kiddo, spoiler, Beatrix Kiddo, is she's all right, but again that Tarantino dialogue kind of makes me sometimes go, ugh, they should have shot you properly. Whereas Samara Weaving's character Grace in Ready or Not is very likable, and I'm 100% behind her throughout the movie. So simply for the who's the best bride, I'm going to go for Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving, okay. Yeah, I get what you mean. I feel like in Kill Bill they do sort of say, and they do say at one point, I believe it's Michael Madsen's character, Bud, who says like, for what we did to that woman, we deserve to die.
Yeah.
But then he shrugs his shoulders and he says, but so does she.
Yeah.
So
like
they
she
do
is
have,
still a fucking assassin, dude. She's not.
Yeah. I mean, the way they garner sympathy for her character is that like they did kind of screw her over and murder her and leave her for dead.
Yeah.
And ostensibly, she was pregnant and lost her child essentially.
Yeah.
So you can get behind that. That is great. Vengeance. It's a movie about it's a revenge story.
It's very easy to like. I mean,
yeah. So
you set up something like that. Of course, you want people to get the revenge.
Of course, you're on her side. They don't get too much into bad things she has done.
No.
Which I guess if they did that, your sympathy might be harder to keep the base level of sympathy that you have with her for the vengeance.
Because there's that whole flashback sequence where she finds out she's pregnant and she's been sent to kill someone. They found out she's there, so they send an assassin after her, and she's like pleading for her life, and you're just sitting there going, right, for a start, you have a fucking nerve. And for a second thing here, this other assassin is the worst assassin ever. You would just go, no, sorry, it's my job. Bye.
Yeah, I guess so. But I kind of enjoyed that scene a little bit because it was kind of funny. But the problem is it goes on for too long.
Yes, yeah.
And then stops being funny.
I like the wee end, but where like she goes, congratulations.
Oh yeah, like runs through the bullet holes. That was that grabs you and pulls you back in because that was really funny.
Yeah.
But most of that scene, you're just like, she's fumbling around and reading the instructions. Like, okay, the joke stopped being funny like 20 seconds ago, and it's still going.
I think that's another thing against Kill Bill for me is that a lot of the comedy I don't think lands too well. I think it tries to be funny a lot of times, but it falls flat for me.
Yeah.
And the same happens in Ready or Not, but not nearly as much.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm just struggling to like think of specific ones. But there is like throughout the movie they try to make like wee jokes or wee things, but it's never quite that good or witty. It's like
there's a whole scene where Bud is basically getting told off by his boss.
Yeah,
and it is completely and totally unnecessary and goes on forever. And you're just wondering, like, this could have just been not in the movie. Yeah. It has no bearing on anything that happens.
No.
At all. It's just like, this is just in there because I guess maybe when Tarantino was a teenager, a boss did this to him and he's still angry at them. I don't know. But, like, on the whole, I think I do like Kill Bill a fair bit.
Yeah.
I like that.
Would it be your pick?
Maybe. Because Ready or Not was so much fun.
Yeah.
Is the thing. It has a really sympathetic central character and it's a lot of fun. But for me, also Kill Bill is a lot of fun. Like, every time that she gets super focused and angry and the Ironside theme starts playing, it's brilliant. Because it's weird that it's the theme from Ironside, the TV cop show, but it is perfect for the times they use it.
Yeah.
When she's just like, it always like zooms in her eyes whenever she spots somebody and she's extremely angry, and he's just like, boop, boop, boop. And you're like, something's about to happen, and it's great. I love it's got loads of moments like that that are really good, and it kind of also did this thing to me where I want to now go back and watch all these great movies.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go back and watch Lone Wolf and Cub now because those are great films.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you can't detract away as well. Like, Kill Bill is, like, it certainly had an impact on the culture a lot more than any of these other movies. There's,
definitely.
Like, I kind of hate that word iconic because a lot of people misuse it, but it has become this iconic thing, and a lot of things in it have become like the music in it. And
like, most people probably don't know that that's the theme from Ironside. They'll hear that and think that's
exactly.
the thing
Most
from Kill Bill.
Yeah, because that's what just kind of sparked it in my head, was that, and then you've got like the do 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 do, like.
The 5, 6, 7, 8 doing a bunch of like, because like that's like that rockabilly thing was big in Japan at the time, and like I think it still is actually. There's something really cool about Japanese rockabilly bands. I like those guys. They seem like cool people.
So like it did do like obviously there's something there that like attracted a lot of people, and it does do those homages very well, and it's hard to detract from it, but. I'm going to.
Yeah, and like it's taken things that were iconic for other things, and now people look at it like the one that always jumps me, like when people see a yellow jumpsuit now with a black stripe down the side, they probably don't think about Bruce Lee in Game of Death anymore.
Which is crazy, yeah.
They probably think about the bride from Kill Bill now, which is wild to think of, because that was the number one most iconic Bruce Lee thing.
Yeah, for a long time.
For a very long time, and it's weird because it's like it's the film of his that he is least in because he died while they were making it, and it's all body doubles and stuff, and like he's only in a tiny part of that movie, but that's the one people remember and associate with Bruce Lee when they see it. And like you'll see it in games and stuff. You say it was in that a favorite of our, Sleeping Dogs. There's an outfit in that. It's definitely that suit, and it's the one from Game of Death.
Yeah.
But now people look at that and they say, "Oh, yep, yellow motorcycle suit with a big yellow helmet and a black stripe down the side. Oh, that's Kill Bill."
Yeah.
And like, I like that it's in there. Like, whenever I first saw it, I remember pointing at it and going, "Ha, Game of Death, cool." But now there's a whole generation of people who've never seen Game of Death, who've only seen this, and think about it like that. And it's weird. It's weird to know how to feel about that, because I feel like Tarantino does have a genuine love for those films. You can feel it, that he really, really loves those films, and he has analyzed them and watched them over and over again and studied them in a way that maybe I would watch them and not think about but when I see someone else do that, I know, oh, that's a thing like what they used to do in X film, Y film. Like, the hard cuts on the music is not something that I would think about when I think about those movies, but when someone does it, I recognize it.
Yeah.
Or like the snap zooms in on people's faces when they say dramatic things and stuff like that. That's a very Hong Kong cinema thing.
Yeah.
That you don't think about until you see someone else taking a hand out of it, or like, doing homage to it, and you're like, oh yeah, that does happen a lot in those movies. So I do appreciate that, but Ready or Not was also great. So I wasn't expecting to really like Ready or Not necessarily.
I kind of knew you would. That's why I suggested that I knew you would.
Well, thank you very much, John. That's great, because then I really did, and I was like, wow. Like, and even like from the very beginning, like before I put it on, I was like, I don't know. And as soon as it started, I was like, I think I'm gonna really like this. It was the music, and it was like the style of the credit sequence, and it was like all these like weird sort of makey-uppy board games that were sort of like, satires on real board games that is going past, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then as they introduced all the characters, I was like, oh no, I'm fully on board with this after like the first couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So even though I do love Kill Bill, again, we have talked so much about how, and again, at the risk of making the same mistake as Quentin Tarantino, going on and on and on about things that don't need to be going on and on and on about. So I'm going to stop saying that now, but that's the main problem, I think, with Kill Bill, is that
just imagine
it has that...
Imagine he's listening going, fuck, they have some nerve.
I know, there's some nerve listening to them going on and on and on about my movie, going on and on and on. Sorry, Quentin, I take it all back. But it does have that sort of like, just stop writing this scene now, Quentin, you're done. Mm-hmm. Some of this dialogue was very good, but now that it's interspersed with all this other stuff, is watered down, and now is just, please stop. So I think I'm going to go with Ready or Not as well.
Nice.
Because it was fun and unexpected, and everybody was good in it, and even Andie MacDowell, which I think really elevates it. I feel like I'm ragging on Andie MacDowell here, but she's just not very good.
Yeah, we're not fans of Andie MacDowell, but she's good in this movie.
Yeah, she is good in this movie. I felt that too. I was surprised because I really like Groundhog Day, but every time I watch it, it's a slog to get through every scene that she's in. And I'm starting to feel even worse now for saying all this, but it's just, I'm not going to lie.
It's true.
It's true. Like, she's just not, historically, not been very good. But in this... I
love that you always say historically.
Historically.
It just adds a weight to it there.
Up until, yeah, it makes it feel like it's like official, doesn't it? Well, historically speaking, she's, yeah. So... yeah, I'm going to pick Ready or Not. I really, really liked it. Samara Weaving was very good in it. Mm-hmm. I found it very easy to root for her. Mm-hmm. Everyone's very good. Adam Brody's is brilliant in it.
Yeah.
As he sort of...
And Samara Weaving definitely has one of the best screams in cinema at the minute. Like
she's got some lungs. Like, she can really do it. Like, yeah, she can do that when they talk about... says it's kind of a term I hate because it's usually like associated with crappy slashers than like, misogyny in a lot of ways. But like a scream queen. Yeah. She's got that kind of scream that she can do. It's just like, that's someone who's terrified.
Yeah, in Ash versus Evil Dead, she has like so many... there's like a whole sequence where like things just keep happening. These horrible things keep happening. Like her face is splattered with glass and things like that. Yeah. And then she stands on nails, and like every time she gives this like real mad guttural scream, and it's always different each time. And
you're making me want to go back and rewatch all of that.
I actually did, because I was like, I have to watch those episodes with her again. Yeah, she's brilliant in it. But
all right, so we're both taking Ready or Not then.
Yeah,
awesome. With a special mention to Kill Bill, because I think it is, on a technical level, it could be considered to be brilliant in a way. Because even when it's bad, even when the technical things are bad, they're intentionally bad, and in ways that I recognize, and I really liked that. But again, verbal diarrhea, I guess, is the problem, that you just can't have his character stop talking. I'm not talking about it again and making the same mistake. I feel like such a hypocrite, but it's true. Anyway, and Blood Spattered Bride, meh, whatever. So Ready or Not, brilliant. Yep. So, John, that being the case, then, since we're both taking Ready or Not, is it the best to sort of divine or get us away from the killer bride in our midst?
Well,
or what?
I mean, who does she kill in it, really? She kills...
Well, in a way, she's responsible for annihilating everybody.
In a way.
Although it is through not getting... by surviving more than anything.
It's kind of the bring it on themselves, though, to know she just survives.
Yeah. She survives, which makes her the killer.
But does she kill anyone kind of...
I don't think she does. She punches a child in the face at one point, which was delightful. Which was
fantastic.
Yeah, that was delightful because it was so unexpected but totally deserved.
Yep.
So she does do a bit of violence, but not necessarily murder. Now, the sort of queen of the murder here is going to be the bride from Kill Bill. She does all the murders. Beatrix Kiddo.
Yeah, she kills her body count is definitely the highest here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the Blood Spattered Bride, she kind of dreams about killing her husband.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. Well, I suppose, is the Blood Spattered Bride the Carmela?
No. See, I guess they both are.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're both murderous brides because she does kill the doctor guy.
Yeah.
He gets extremely knifed.
Oh, yes. I forgot about him.
Yeah, they murder him together. and she is building up to a murder throughout the whole movie. She's revving herself up to do it with these weird fantasies that are going on in her head.
Yep.
Perhaps implanted there by the evil vampire. Well, say evil again. Who knows how evil she really
lesbian.
is? The sand lesbian that is Carmilla / Marcella. So Marcella is definitely a killer.
Yeah.
She has killed lots of people. She is a blood. That movie's got 2 blood spattered brides in it. She's got 2 killer brides, which beats our other movies on sheer number of blood.
Two
of
for one.
Brides.
There you go.
Yeah, I know.
It's the best movie you can watch about killer brides because you get 2.
Now they do just sort of trap them in a box and burn them.
Yeah, riddle it with bullets.
Oh, that's right. He shoots it over and over and over and over and over and over again with his hunting rifle.
And then a Kill Bill level of blood comes pouring out.
And then a Kill Bill level of blood does pour out the bottom.
We should actually mention there's a chapter in Kill Bill called The Blood Splattered Bride, which is clearly a reference to this movie.
Indeed, yes. Now, as far as defeating, what do we learn about Beatrix Kiddo? I mean, don't mess with them. Maybe.
Yeah, don't try to kill her, or if you do, just kill her. And
just do it right.
Michael Madsen's character could have just shot her in the head when she was knocked unconscious. Or instead of using rock salt, he could have just used proper ammo.
An actual shotgun.
Because he basically kills her.
Yeah.
Only she has magical powers and can tunnel her way.
Can tunnel away like a giant worm lady.
Which I kind of enjoy that scene.
Yeah, it's thoroughly,
so
again, it's so stupid, but the way it's done is kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
Am I going to go back and change my mind about which one I like? No, I'm sticking with Ready or
Not.
No.
Too late. Much like Andy McDowell's bad acting, this is now written in history.
Yeah, damn it. If only the recording hadn't been on. Oh, well. All right, so I guess the solution would be, if we were to go by Kill Bill logic, just leave them alone, let them be.
Seeing a lot of these movies, I mean, the bride, it's not the bride's fault.
No, it's not.
It's just, don't be a dick.
Yeah, in the blood spattered bride, her husband's horrible.
Yeah.
And violent.
And then people are just trying to, peep on them and stuff, and give us our space, guys. What the hell?
And there's plenty of horrible misogynistic characters in Kill Bill as well that get their comeuppance in a really satisfying way here and there. It's very, very good.
Whether or not she deserved that, they weren't really the people to to give that judgment, because they were as bad, if not worse. It's implied that Bill is the worst too.
Yeah, they talk about how bad Bill is, but then he's just like a mouthy, just verbal diarrhea sort of.
Superman.
Yeah, so it seems like we'll just not mess with these people.
Yeah, just let them live out their lives. Let them get married, or maybe not. Or
we'll give everyone a box of spiders. I mean, sorry, a wedding box.
Yeah.
There you go.
A wedding box of non-spiders.
Yeah, okay, everybody come up here and get your wedding box, your free gift, and then we're going to go away and leave yous.
Enjoy your wedding.
Everybody, I hope you all have a great day when your big day comes. All right?
Baking soda gets blood out of a dress, by the way.
That's
maybe.
True. You
I don't know.
Baking soda and I heard, was it lemonade?
Yeah.
White lemonade and baking soda. All right. Yes. Well, that seems to have satiated them for now. Or maybe just unlocking the door and letting them all out was the key. Bye. Yes, bye. Sorry about all this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all we have time for this week. We are on Twitter. We are at 7 Day Apocalypse. That is at numeral 7 Day Apocalypse. You can email us on filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. That's filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. We will be taking a sort of a week off here. We're going to have something show up in the feed, but it won't be a full episode next week, as I am off to get married. Yay, me!
Just don't mess with the bride.
Oh, don't worry.
That's what we've
way ahead of you there. Indeed. So, happy days and Mazel Tov!